dating at 1 year of marriage, you spend 4 hours talking about your day and then drift off to sleep in each other's arms.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Dating, at least for us, after, say, 14 years of marriage, you're trying to talk about your day for 10 minutes without falling to sleep while 4 children are hanging on your arms.
True.
It doesn't have to be like that, though, right? Dating is important, and dating with children is possible. If you hear nothing else in this episode and you click away after this cold open, dating with children,
young children,
is necessary and possible.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Before we jump into today's show, I wanted to ask you to check out our website, brand new website, marriagebydesignpodcast.com. That's marriagebydesignpodcast.com. All of our episodes are available there on that website. Love to have you pop over there, follow us there, and check it out.
If you have a topic that you're wanting more information on or you have questions about, you can search on our website by topic, which is a really great feature.
That's right. And more than anything, guys, please share this with someone that would find it meaningful for them. Without any more delay, let's get to the show. Hey, everybody. I'm Nathan Warnock.
I'm Andrea Warnock, and you've joined us for the Marriage by Design podcast. This is a time where we talk to you about God's design for marriage, what the Bible has to say about that, and how we live that out practically.
That's right. And we started a little mini-series last week, and then we're going to finish it up this week, talking about dating. And specifically, we were talking about the importance of dating in marriage, because so often we find couples, they get the whole dating thing going when they're dating, and then
which is important too
when they're engaged, and then you get married and you sort of think, okay, I've arrived, and you can stop putting in an effort to date your spouse.
But reality is, even though you live together, if you're not intentional about spending time together, time where you're having good communication, dialogue, and getting to know each other and doing fun things, you don't have really depth of relationship.
That's right. Dating is really about exploring each other in ways you can't do when you're exploring each other. If you know what I mean.
Oh boy, Nathan.
And, you know, the tragedy is when we're dating before marriage, it feels like the temptation is like, man, I really want to engage in the exploring in the hopes of engaging in the exploring. And then you get married and it's like the effort goes away. And yeah, there definitely is a spiritual element to this. I mean, we've talked about this. You know, I truly believe, and I think there's a myriad of evidence that our enemy, Satan, does everything he can to get you in the sack before you're married and everything he can to keep you out of it after you're married. And I do think that dating is a contributor to that issue. But that being said, dating is about exploring each other's intellect, exploring each other's emotion, right? All the ways that are not explored in sex and physical, elements. Dating is that, right? It's an opportunity to really pursue your spouse and explore who they are as a person. And that is every bit as important into marriage as it is before marriage. I've said this many times on this podcast, but it comes to mind again in the book, The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. He makes a point of saying he'd been married to his wife for 35 years. And during that 35-year period, she had lived with 5 very different men, and they were all him.
Yeah, I mean, I was just telling Nathan something tonight that changed 180 degrees from what it used to be about myself. That just happened over time. It just, I don't know, why. It just happened.
Right.
And that's the way we all are. We change over time and we grow, and some things aren't a growth thing. They're just different. And if you're not keeping up with each other, then how will you know?
Right. So really beyond
Thanks.
talking about just dating in general, we really want to hone into what one of the most difficult parts of dating is in marriage, and that's dating with children, and particularly young children. I mean, we're going to kind of focus in a lot on that because, of course, as your kids get older, it gets easier to be able to do more formal dating, and they can stay home and take care of themselves, or or babysit some of the younger kids if you've got younger kids. But dating when you have younger kids is challenging, and so over the next 25 or so minutes, we want to talk about why date nights matter, even when you're exhausted. And that's a big part.
We've had some of those.
Man, we've had so many, and this has been an issue at times in our own marriage, and I'm sure it is more for you than me, but I really appreciate this last couple of years as I've really tried to get serious about leading in this area, that you've really been good about receiving that. Even I'm sure a lot of times when you're like, I really don't feel like going on a date. Like, I'd rather just go to bed.
Sometimes.
And that's fair. But man, you've been so good about letting me pursue you in that way and pursuing me in that way back, even when you're exhausted. So why does it matter even when you're exhausted? Then we want to talk about a few creative date night ideas just generally to try and get real practical with y'all.
Maybe get the ball rolling in your head.
Yeah, as you're thinking about dating. And then, talk a little bit about like making dating your spouse a lifestyle, right? Meaning like, how do we date just throughout the day?
Right.
And I don't, you need both. You need dedicated date nights to get out and date each other for reasons that, we're going to kind of talk about here. But also it is important to have a lifestyle of dating. Don't let your marriage become a business, right? It's not a business. It's a relationship. And in order for it to be a relationship that has intimacy and has closeness, which is also another word for intimacy, you need to have a
thank you, Thesaurus Nathan,
dating, a relationship of a lifestyle of dating. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So first, why it matters. So why do date nights matter?
Well, it benefits your marriage, right? You have better connection. You have time to really focus on just the two of you rather than maybe other things that are going on. Hopefully it improves your communication. You're able to talk about deeper things because there's not craziness going around.
Sure.
Our house can get really crazy sometimes, and
Sure.
it can be really hard to have a conversation.
Yes, it can.
At times. Right. And so dates help to just have a like flowing conversation without so many interruptions,
Sure.
And just help with the connection with each other. Sometimes it helps me remember why I'm married, like all the reasons that I love Nathan, because some of those can get lost in just the day-to-day drudgery,
right?
Of, not that I'm like, ugh, this guy, but the unique things about him aren't coming to my mind necessarily when we're just raising children in the home and doing
Sure.
just the dull things we need to do during the day.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as, I feel really close to you when you and I have dedicated time together. And I feel like then from the moment we get back from that until the next time we have a chance to do that, everything in our life is trying to pull us apart. Mm-hmm. Like not intentionally, like there are spiritual things that are trying to pull us apart intentionally, but I mean, our kids aren't trying to pull us apart, right? I mean, they would be devastated if we were to separate, right? They want us to be together.
There's just
but
lot.
But they're kids and they want
attention.
what I want. Right? Like, I mean, that's their thought process. I want mom. I want mom. I want mom. I don't care if she's trying to talk to dad. I want mom. I want her to be over here doing this thing. I want dad to be doing this thing over here. This is what I want. I want this. I want this. I want this. I want this.
There's just really a lot of things, and probably everyone listening this resonates with you. There are just a lot of things that are knocking at the door of our attention, whether it's kids, this football game I'm really into, my social media, this book I want to read. And I'm not saying it's bad things necessarily. It's just that life in the modern age, there's a lot of things trying to pull at your attention.
That's right.
And when we're on a date, there's one person taking my attention.
Right.
So it like quiets the noise,
right,
so that we can really connect.
It's a good call. Yeah, I'm going to take the third one, and I'll let you come back the second one, because I think that second one's really important. But besides benefiting your marriage as a marriage, it's a huge, and you just hit on this a little bit, it's a stress reliever and emotional connection point.
Yeah.
I mean, I love being a dad. I love running my own business. I love getting a chance to teach at the kids' school. I love coaching. I love, all the things that I get to do in my life. I love those things. And I'm grateful to the Lord that he's given me the opportunity to do those things. But there's nothing like you and I getting away.
Yeah.
I mean, just whether it's getting away. I mean, we have that coming up in a couple of weeks, and I couldn't be looking forward to it more, because it's just great to just get away. And there is something that's different. I guarantee it. That's different about your spouse when you get them away from the kids.
Yeah.
And there is, like, again, some of these things we're saying, and I know there are parents out there that are appreciating this, so I feel freedom to say it. But if you don't even have kids, this probably sounds bad. But sometimes, like, you and I get away on a date or we get away on a trip, and I'm like, there you are, because you're just different as a couple when you're in the thick of raising kids and disciplining kids and trying to manage a home and having to pay the bills and having to deal with all the things that we all have to deal with in our adult lives. And when we have take dedicated time to get away together, it's like, yeah, here we are. Like, this is us together.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, totally. So then another reason why date nights are important is it's modeling healthy relationships. And this is something that Nathan is, you can tell, really big on, and has helped me to realize how important it is for our kids to see us taking time away. Our kids are so important to us.
Yep.
But they are not the star of the show.
Right.
And for our kids to know our relationship, Nathan's and my relationship, is so important. And we need to be a way to sow into that. Is good for our kids to see, and to see us enjoying one another, and to see us, prioritizing getting away, whether that's a short time or going on a trip or something like that. It's really good for our kids to know, hey, mom and dad prioritize that relationship. We're not always the star of the show. And this is how they're building healthy relationship. And hopefully that takes them into their own marriages.
Right.
And they realize, like, hey, yeah, this was modeled for us, and I need to do that in my own marriage.
None of us are going to do model marriage perfectly.
No.
But there is absolutely nothing you can do for your children that is a greater gift to them than allowing them to grow up in a home where you prioritize marriage and make your marriage to their mother or their father your number one priority. There's just nothing you can do. And I'm not just talking about from a spiritual standpoint, although but beyond that, every major statistical category, you give your children a leg up if you have just one category. And that's that child growing up in an unbroken home with their biological mother and their biological father. It's the number one contributor to wealth, mental health, stability in their own marriage. It is huge that we do that. And yet so often, and this is even within the Christian family, we so often want to fall prey to like, well, our kids they need to know they're the priority, and they need to know, and pretty soon your kids are running the home. And I'm not even sure how often these Christian families know your kid doesn't want to be the show.
Yeah.
Like, they might be making you acting like, oh, you're not paying enough attention to me. You're not giving me enough stuff. You're not treating me enough
They
as a
probably
priority.
don't know that they don't want to be that they don't want to be the
Yeah,
star of the show. But
right.
in reality, the best thing for them is that they're not the star of the show of your marriage.
That's right. It's so important. And it just, I mean, our kids, even now, ask us a couple of them pretty regularly. Like, and they do, our daughter and one of our sons does it with like a smile on their face because they know what the answer is going to be. And they'll go, Dad, are you and Mom ever going to get a divorce? And they say it with a smile on their face because, one, they know what the answer is. Two, they see us prioritizing this. But there is something precious to our kids to hear us say it. We're never going to get a divorce.
Yep.
But then that is further than backed up by
But we have a
us saying,
commitment to
hey,
that
we don't
too.
even want, it's not that even that your mom and I just don't want to get a divorce. Like, that's the base level, right? Not only do we not want to get a divorce, but let me tell you, son and daughter, I love you to the moon and back. I don't love you more than I love your mom.
Yeah. Hell, yes.
And they think that's just hilarious because, you know, in their mind, it helps to set an understanding of what the structure of our home is. And when you live that out by making date nights a priority, it's huge.
And believe me, I mean, so we have 5 kids, and we have had particularly one child who's not a stage 5 clinger. He's like a stage 50 clinger.
Oh, man.
And we've had all sorts of course, with 5 kids, different stages of nursing and babies and toddlers and clingers and all the things, you know. And we still chose to date. Maybe some seasons of our marriage, it was more dates at home, but
Sure.
we've always prioritized dates outside of our home too, even if it was just less often.
Yeah, so let's jump into that a little bit and talk about, you know, kind of date nights through the years. And you just brought up a good one that I don't want to minimize: date nights at home. Now, as we talk about date nights, I want to make something really clear. And if you're a husband and you're listening to this, I'm talking to you. Man, we can get lazy with dating. And that's not a marriage thing. Like, that, even dating like leading up to marriage, man, we can be bums.
Sure.
About dating.
And I mean,
And
not
it's
just guys, but girls too. Yeah.
Part of the issue, I think, is that we're just not very intentional about it.
And there's a lot of things knocking at the door of our attention.
Right.
And we're not putting the attention into the time it takes to think of some of these cool date ideas, or just something different.
Right. So here's my first this is before even my point about at-home date nights. Date nights belong on the calendar. Hey, we got the kids to bed. We got a couple hours. You want to hang out? That's not what I'm talking about a date night. That can be great, and you should definitely hang out if you have a couple of hours to hang out. But that's like what's great for those nights? Like, watch a show, or knock out some things around the house you want to get done, or whatever. But for a date night, I'm talking about, this is formal. Like, it goes on the calendar.
Like, we're wearing dresses?
And yes, I wear a dress. You wear a dress. It's great. It's intentional. It goes on the calendar. And there's clear responsibility for who's planning it.
Yeah.
And then plan
There's
it.
a plan. Yeah.
Like, this is something I've grown in a ton.
And date nights are never, at least in our home, date nights are never, we're watching a show, ever.
No, there are times when we do that, but it's not a date night.
No.
We live in a smaller town in the Midwest. I mean, it's a city, but it's not Chicago. And so, it's easy for us that grew up in this city to go like, oh, there's probably no, it's just, there's nothing to do here.
There's so much to do.
Man, Andrew and I have been going on dates now for almost 2 years. Almost 2 years, two times a month. And
yeah, we've put it on the calendar, made it intentional for 2 years. Twice a month.
And we, with very rare, there are a couple exceptions where we did something fun. Like Andrew and I together volunteered at our son's school for a dance, right? Like that was going to be a date night. Ended up the dance got canceled and we went to dinner and it wasn't really that planned out. But there are some times where we're doing things like that for our date night. But most of the time, it's a date that I've planned ahead of time. Point in why I'm telling you this is 2 times a month for 2 years. That's 48 dates. And we have not done the same thing more than once, with one exception, and that was the golf place that you like to do. The Top Golf.
Huh.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah.
Other than that, we've never doubled up on a place in a date. And now I have a whole spreadsheet, like where I color code green, yellow, and red.
What went well.
Our dates. And so there are some we're going to do again.
Yep.
But I'm just trying to let's keep doing. And I've got a whole list of 8 or 10 or 12 more things that we've never done. Some of them have to be done in the summer or the winter, whatever. But my point is, if you start going down this rabbit trail, you're going to find fun, unique stuff to do. And this is a thing where cookies, not the eating kind, but cookies on your internet browser are actually helpful, because I get now tons of, I'm on social media because this channel is on social media, and I get suggestions from stuff on social media all the time where it's like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's fun.
And it helps.
Yeah, and
these dates together.
Our twice a month date nights, some of it is, one of them is probably during regular normal person hours, whether that's a morning date or an evening date or something. And then one of them is always after 8.
Yep.
And so that helps with the creativity too, because we've got to find something that we can do that's after 8 is when our kids go to bed. And our oldest, then we don't have to pay a babysitter because our oldest just is here and he just hangs out while everybody's in bed. And so that has helped the creativity too, because we're looking for something to do late at night. That's helped too.
And a lot of times it's not dinner. We can still eat dinner as a family because it's after 8.
Right.
And so we're not going out to eat. We're going to do an activity.
Inside dates too.
Right.
Yeah.
So you brought up babysitting, which is one of the biggest hindrances to dates when you have young kids.
Certainly has been
so let
for
me
us.
kind of address that a little bit. At home dates, if they are intentional, meaning planned ahead of time, and someone's responsible for taking a plan for that date, are totally okay, right? Those are still dates. But you have to be a little creative with what you're doing. So, babe, we've done a number of home dates over the years. What are some things for home dates that, strike out in your mind as things that were fun?
Well, we enjoy board games, so doing some board games. There's some of these escape rooms in a box.
Yep, those are great.
Those are really fun.
Yep.
We've gotten those on Amazon. They're like $15, and those have been enjoyable. We're working through an advent calendar escape room.
Yep,
that's really fun.
There's a company. They're not a sponsor of the channel, so just look them up. But we've gotten a few of their things that I'm really interested in doing with you on a date night. We haven't done one yet, but a company called Finders Seekers, and they do kind of escape rooms in a box, but it involves searching the internet, and then they focus on a specific place. So Andrea's Irish, and so we have one that is set in Ireland. So you're looking up Irish streets and digging into Ireland in an effort to solve this riddle. And you can do it as a subscription for 6 months or a year, whatever you want to do. And they send you a new one in a new location every month, which is cool. If you enjoy that sort of thing and you want to do at home dates. I'm really looking forward to doing some of those with you.
We've ordered in food.
Yep.
Or cooked for ourselves late at night.
Yep.
And then sometimes we've read a book together. and talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we done?
I mean, depending on the craziness, sometimes we've just. I mean, you mentioned cooking or ordering in food, but really just to be able to have some dedicated time to just sit and catch up.
Right.
Which is another encouragement for you guys as you think about dates. I try to always incorporate into our dates some time that we can connect. So maybe we're gonna go. Well, I don't want to spoil that one because we're gonna go do that.
Maybe we're gonna go do Top Golf, which
yeah.
doesn't lend itself really to very good communication. But he'll work in some other thing, like maybe we'll go home and take a walk.
Right.
We've done that too on date nights at home.
Yeah, walks are great.
Where we'll put the kids to bed if it's nice weather, and we'll go on a long walk together. And I love those. I love those kinds of dates. It's not anything like, oh my gosh, that's the thing, is it doesn't have to be over the top or even take a lot of time to plan. Not every date needs to be that kind of thing. It can just be like, we're just being intentional here with our time with each other.
Yep.
So we've done walks or fire pits out in the backyard.
Yep.
Where we've had a drink and we've sat and talked about specific things. Like, I remember one time we talked about if we won the lottery, if we ever played the lottery and we won the lottery, what would we do with that? Great. And just had some time to sit at the fire pit and talk, and
it's good.
Whatever.
It's great. So what at-home date ideas do you guys have? Love to have you put those in the comments or shoot us an email, marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. Love to just know what at-home date nights you guys have done. If this is something that you take seriously, we're always looking for ideas and would love to be able to share it with the rest of the
really good idea is to tackle some sort of organization project in your home together for a date night.
Do not
that you have so much time to talk. You don't really need to pay that close of attention to what you're doing. So you have so much time to talk and
next
organize.
What we really want to dig into here,
and fix things.
Besides at-home dates, I do think getting out together is important.
Yeah.
I also think it's important for your kids to see that. And so even if you're like, man, babysitting's expensive, which it is, and my kids don't like us to be away from the home, let me address the expensive part in a second. But for your kids, tough bananas. Mom and dad need to get out. You don't get to manage mom and dad's schedule by throwing a fit. Or by
and we've had those. I'm telling you, we've had all of that.
That's right. But to avoid the expense, here's something I would recommend: find a couple that you know, and ask if you can for a year try out, or 6 months or a quarter or whatever, try out childcare swapping. Right, like hey, once a month, you guys are going to plan a date night, and we're going to take your kids, and then once a month, we're going to plan a date night. You're going to take our kids. Let's get them on the calendar for the next 6 months so that they're on there, or a year, or however long you want to do it. And that way no one's cost no longer is an issue, and it preserves that opportunity to be able to go out. And I might add, it allows your kids to be under the authority of someone else for a time, which is a really positive thing for kids as well.
And of course, if you have family in town that's willing to help you out, that's a great resource for hopefully free babysitting for date nights. But if you have family in town who maybe you have older parents who just really struggle with taking care of your kids, they might be willing to come over and just sit at your house while your kids sleep, and you can do a later date night. And then again, they're not having to do anything. Likely you're not having to pay anybody. You still get to go out, Right.
Yep.
That's an option. And you might find somebody you can trust in your neighborhood, young teenager in your neighborhood who might just come sit at your house and be happy to watch Netflix at your house while you go on a late date and your kids sleep. I don't know. Anyway, so
good. Hey, the other thing is take advantage of downtimes in your home, right? So, if you've got a baby and the baby maybe is trying to figure out the whole day night thing, take advantage of nap times, right? I mean, if your schedule allows, either during the week, if your work schedule allows, or on the weekend, when the baby's napping, take advantage of that as
Yeah,
a
have an
date
in-home
time, right?
date.
Maybe it's hard to get out, of course, at that time. Although maybe you have family members that are like, hey, I'd love to be around some
Or
to help
maybe
out
your
the
baby naps
and
really well on the go and you can just go on a date while they nap.
Great.
We've taken
Great
so many
point.
kids with us on dates
Totally.
where it's nap time and they'll nap on the go and
Right.
we can still hang out.
Right. But again, you have to be intentional about it, because otherwise the baby's going to go down for a nap and you're both going to be so grateful that you're off duty as a parent for the moment
Yeah.
that you're just going to sit around.
Or we've
right,
gone
and
on
not take
dates where I've
advantage
like worn the kid on my back and we've done, you know,
of it. Right.
the younger child is happy in a carrier for a while and I know I can get, you know, an hour of time and we can go
Right.
do something.
Right.
You just have to be creative.
Right. And don't let cost be a barrier. Right. There is tons of things you can do, I'm sure, in whatever city or town you're in for free. Like take a walk. Like have a picnic.
Go on a hike.
I can almost guarantee you, if you're in any kind of town or city of any kind of size, there are message boards about free activities going on in that town.
Yeah.
Go and don't. A lot of them, man. How many times do we go on dates where we're like, I'm not really I guess I never thought about doing this as a date, and then we go do it, and we're like, I was way more fun than I thought it would be, right? Like, go find a free bingo game and play bingo
Go
together.
geocaching.
Like, go geocaching.
That's a
Look
great
that up
date.
if you don't know what that is. That's
It's
a great
like
date.
finding treasure. People put like
Scavenger hunt.
Yeah, it's a little scavenger hunt that's all over the world and they're everywhere. And you can
You don't even know it.
You don't know it. And you
Yep.
can spend an afternoon finding several of them.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, totally. That's a great
little
idea.
hike.
And that can be free.
Go
I
to
mean, there's tons of things that are free.
Yep.
You just
And
have
cheap.
to take the effort to do it. And man, I'd so strongly encourage
I
you
saw
to
a
do it.
couple that had like an at-home date and they were not artistic people, but they were like, draw a portrait of your spouse. So they got some painting supplies, which were cheap, and they sat and talked while they painted each other, and then they showed each other their portraits, and they were horrible, but they laughed
funny.
about them, and it was so fun. And maybe they
That's
hung them
really
up in the
funny.
house. I don't know. I thought that was a really fun date idea.
Okay, so besides formal dates, babe, how do we build just a lifestyle of dating each other in the home?
In the home?
Yeah, I mean, just as part of our lives. Like,
Yeah,
what's that look like?
it's really just it's just looking for those small moments, you know. And sometimes we have to be like, you know, putting boundaries around that with our kids. Like, nope, this is not your moment. It's my moment. Leave
Right.
me alone. Because I want to finish this conversation, or I want to finish this game with dad, or, you know, we lock ourselves away in our room for 10 minutes and we're having this deep conversation that we started, or maybe it's not a conversation and it's something else that's going on for 10 minutes, but you know, there's these small moments that we get with each other where we're enjoying an inside joke or have whatever it is, and that's important too,
Right.
to look for those and make those so that it's not just the dull. And our days aren't dull, they're very lively, but it's not just the same thing day in and day out. Like, we're getting to know each other, we're always finding more out about each other, and
Right.
getting to know each other and enjoying each other, finding these small moments of like something funny or whatever, because we look for them.
Right. Yeah. And here's a big piece of this. You have to figure out as a couple how to become one. Like the Lord says, when you got married, you became one. So, I mean, for this, it says in Genesis 2, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So in God's eyes, you're one. Yet so often we don't really be intentional about becoming one as a couple. We have to be intentional about that, right? That means, making time to have meaningful conversations so you could stay on the same page. Remember my analogy about we're getting torn apart constantly by just life? Well, not only are dates those moments that bring us together, but being intentional about meaningful touch points during the day.
Yeah.
It might be Andrea telling me a quick relaying some facts about a friend of hers that she had a conversation with and taking a moment to talk about that. It might be me sharing with her how, some things that happened in my day. It might be us sharing an inside joke when something funny happens. It might be sharing a story about the kids. It could be any number of things. But throughout our day, there is 50 of these micro interactions between Andrea and I that are momentary, but they help us cling to each other in the midst of a situation that's constantly trying to pull us apart.
You know what I find is helpful for these just daily kind of interactions? This whole idea of divide and conquer is really, what's the word I'm looking for? You can probably accomplish more with the things that you need to get done with the kids and around the house and all that when you divide and conquer. But when we choose to do, like, we need to give baths, let's do that together rather than somebody gives a bath while the other person cleans up the kitchen.
Yep.
Yes, you could be more productive. That was the word. Yes, you can probably be more productive. But those times where we're like, we're just going to choose to do this thing together, we have more opportunity for those connections and talking and all that kind of thing. So think about that when you're in your home together with kids. And the other thing is, we believe family dinner nights are very important, and we do a lot of those. But there are some times where we're like, we're going to feed the kids and then we're going to feed ourselves. So they're off, their bellies are satisfied, they're off playing for a little while, and we can sit down and just be the two of us for a little bit too. So kind of rethinking, date moments in your house, just to have those daily connections.
Right. So to summarize, kind of this whole idea of dating with young kids, it matters. It matters for your marriage. It matters for your kids. It does not have to be expensive. It does not have to happen every other day. But it is important. And with some creativity, it can fit into your schedule. I guarantee it. Mm-hmm. But beyond even dating, building a culture of dating each other in your marriage is critical. And what that looks like. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more next week, because I like this whole idea of this sort of micro interaction within marriage and what that looks like. And I think that's so important for us to get on the same page. So I hope that you took something away from this. I hope if you haven't, if you're watching this when it comes out, it's towards the end of January here. We're still in the first month of the year. So get on
We're in the resolution month
and plan these dates out. I've planned our first 3 or 4 months as far as like just getting it on the calendar. I take a sort of a throwback to Friends, and all of our dates are called like the one where Nathan and Andrea ... And then a lot of them right now just say the one where Nathan and Andrea ... have a date.
Yeah.
It's just a placeholder on the calendar. And then I update it when I decide what we're doing with something kitschy or, sort of a teaser, just to have something to look forward to on the calendar. But man, get those on the calendar. Make 2025 the year of the date in your marriage. If this is something you've already been really good at, love to have you tell us what it is that you're doing to be successful. Had some great comments on our last video about older couples who are in the empty nest stage and what they've been doing to try and maintain that relationship between the two of them. We love reading those. Would love to read. You couples out there that have young kids, let us know what you do to stay close as a couple. Thanks so much for joining us. We will be back at you next Monday with a brand new episode of the Marriage by Design podcast. Until then, remember, God is for your marriage.
Thanks so much for listening. We just wanted to say, if you have a comment, a question, something that you're struggling with, or need prayer, please reach out to us. You can get a hold of us by emailing marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com or Of course, you can comment on any of our social media and we will get back to you. But if you have something private, feel free to email us. We're happy to personally respond to you.
That's right. And we do respond to every comment that we receive, either through our website, through YouTube, through our social medias, which leads me to feel free to pop over to our website, marriagebydesignpodcast.com. You can leave comments on any of our videos through that site. We would love to be able to connect with you, but please don't hesitate to reach out. Even if you just need prayer, you need someone to hear what you're going through, we're here for the Marriage by Design community, so feel free to reach out anytime. Until then, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.